Anderson Cooper, live from Cairo, CNN Tonight, 10 Eastern.
So I want to go to John King in Washington. Just to give you, it's hard, I know, when you're watching this around the world or in the United States to get a sense of kind of the geography of it all. So we wanted John to kind of give us an overview, give you an overview of where everything is. John, take it away.
And Anderson, because of that crackdown, because you can't and our colleagues can't get out there and show us live pictures or any tape pictures today, we wanted to do just that, give people a little perspective. This, of course, the Nile River here, this central Cairo Liberation or Tahrir Square right here, where most of this is all played out. I want to go back in time a little bit. Obviously, we're waiting to see what happens here tomorrow, the big rallies planned. Let's go back through time a little bit. Anderson, I remember we were talking earlier in the week. This is on Wednesday, when the demonstrations were starting to come in masse to the square here, and we saw a remarkable sight right here on one of these bridges. As the crowds were coming into town, you see these two vans. Those are police vans trying to stop the crowds coming in. As you can see, overwhelmed and unsuccessful. These crowds flooding across the bridge right here as they come in. Now, where were those crowds going? They were coming across the bridge, and they were going up here into the square, where early on, everything was quite peaceful. What we saw was what we thought were the early days of a peaceful revolution. You see smiling faces here. You see some signs saying Mubarak out, some in English, some in Arabic. Again, remarkably peaceful in the early days, but then we do know in the past 72 hours things have taken quite a dangerous turn. Our first startling glimpse of that was daytime Wednesday. Again, Liberation Square right here, just off on the way over toward the Egyptian Museum. You had mostly pro-democracy, anti-Mubarak demonstrators gathering, talking, but then some pro-Mubarak people came into the crowd. There started to be some tussling, and then there was this.
Oh my.
You can see this here as I pause it for a second. Horses coming in, some with sticks and whips coming in and literally just beating the people who had been standing, gathering peacefully there in the town. That was our first startling sign that things had taken a turn for the worse and that the police were not stopping what was happening. Later that day, and some of this images is quite disturbing, an Egyptian from Germany who was home to see some relatives, he gathered with some friends over here. They were gathering on this side of town. They wanted to make their way over to the square. But you see the army was stationed here, some pro-Mubarak people stationed here. Watch as this plays out. This is video taken from the top of the bridge. You can see the advantage of it, submitted in an iReport. Now I'm going to stop this for 1 second for a reason. Number one, you see this is a green interior police van right there, bruising somebody, striking somebody gently here. It's about to come through, and this could be disturbing. If you want to turn away, what you're about to see here might bother you at home. The van comes through. Speeds up, strikes a bunch of people. You can see the bodies strewn in the street. I will stop that there. Obviously, right there, a clear sign, the Interior Ministry plowing through. And then later that night, of course, Anderson here, we talked about this last night on the program. I have to get this to stop to do it. The Molotov cocktails and the scene in the square. You were talking about people grabbing the corrugated steel to protect themselves, and you can see some of that as this plays out. The Molotov cocktails back and forth. This was a disheartening sign that things had taken a dramatic turn for the worse. And we also learned today, of course, that ABC and Mubarak.mp4 had an interview with President Mubarak out at his palace. That's about 6 miles away from where most of this is played out. Let me take you out there using Google Earth technology. About 6 miles out, you see the presidential palace compound out here. That is where that interview took place. She went to see the vice president, also got to see President Mubarak. You heard his defiant tone and the government's defiant tone. And Anderson, as I go back into the main site of all this, Liberation Square, that is the big question for tomorrow. Does that defiant tone take hold? Does this message that it's caused by the foreigners, will that continue from the government? And if there is a Farewell Friday rally right here, and the numbers are large, as you've been talking with Hala and others all night long, what will the police, and more importantly, what will the military do? Anderson.
Hey, John, if you could on that map, and I don't know if technically you can, could you just show where the Egyptian Museum is? Because for viewers who've been watching this closely over the last 48 hours or so, that's the scene of some of the most vicious battling back and forth that we've been seeing, and we kept referencing it. So if you could on the Google map, kind of just zero in on that area, because that's really been the front line for these battles back and forth.
Absolutely. I have it right up here on the screen, and so everyone can understand at home. Here's Liberation Square right here. You see the main bridges in, and the main roadway here. Here's the Egyptian Museum, and as Anderson noted, this is where the pro-Mubarak mobs have been gathering over here. The army has sort of been gathering right in here, essentially protecting this alleyway through here. This is the Egyptian Museum, and as Anderson noted, we've had clashes here in the thruway to Liberation Square, but also over on this side of the museum as well. And for context, you see the ruling party headquarters here. You see hotels all around here. And again, Liberation Square here, crowds coming in over the bridges. But the Egyptian Museum, Anderson, right here, just along the edge of the Nile River, just to the left, looking at the map from Liberation Square. Anderson?
And I can tell you that the anti-Mubarak forces have actually taken that entire area, John, in front of the museum, and they've actually even gone a little bit north of that. So their barricades, the last we saw, were actually to a little bit to the like half a block to the north of the north side of the Egyptian Museum, and they had actually even gotten this morning onto one of the overpasses going on to the bridge, and that's when Egyptian police started firing started firing shots in the air to push them back. But they now occupy an area in front of to the left of the Egyptian Museum. So it's been quite a dramatic ebb and flow of the crowd over the last 48 hours or so. John, thank you.